everyone. I'm Tara Diana, Empowerment Medium, and this is the Spirit Essence Show. This is where I come on and I ask a beautiful panel of spiritual individuals a question to kind of trigger us and start a discussion. This is going to be very exciting. And before we even go there, I want to invite each of the panel members. Ladies, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Tara.
Thank you for having us.
You are so welcome. Anytime. Okay, let's start off. Christine Wong is our spiritual medium, not our spiritual medium. She is a spiritual medium. Lovely woman, works with all sorts of crystals, with energy. I'm wearing all sorts of her jewelry because she's just that wonderful. Then we have the lovely Val. Val is a psychic medium. Her love of black cats is something right along with mine. So very excited to have you here, Val. Both of these lovely ladies are part of the collective. And then we have a special guest, Lynn Marie, psychic medium as well. She is coming. She's in town, so we thought we would invite her to come and sit on the panel with us. And finally, Mabu, also part of the Spirit Essence Collective, the lovely psychic medium, Paula Gil.
Hi, everybody.
That is the fam. And here we are. So ladies, are you ready for this? This is where I end up triggering someone somewhere, and that's okay because we all need to have these kinds of discussions. And this is an interesting one. So prepared? Just say what comes to mind, open it up, and share your beliefs. There is no judgment. There's no right or wrong here. This is all in our humble opinions. Fair enough? Okay. Here's the question. Toot toot goes a little horn. We are ready. Here's the question. Do you believe empathy is a real, measurable experience? And do you think empathy and sympathy are always valid tools in every situation? Or are there moments where one serves better than the other? Now we can break that down, ladies. We can break that down. So let's start off with, do you believe empathy is a real and measurable experience? As spiritualists, as metaphysical practitioners.
Yeah, I think it is. I think it's measurable as, on an individual level. I think everybody has to determine for themselves whether or not they feel empathy. So I think it might be helpful if we maybe define these two terms, right?
Let's do that.
Let's define empathy and sympathy. You want to take that?
I've got it. So empathy, the ability to understand and share another person's feelings by putting yourself in their shoes. It's about tuning in to someone else's emotional experience as if you're feeling it with them. Empathy. Sympathy. The feeling of care or sorrow for someone else's situation. You recognize their hardship, but you're observing from outside rather than stepping inside their emotional space.
So yeah, I think for me, I feel that I have experienced empathy. That feeling of imagining yourself in somebody else's shoes, is that measurable? I mean, I don't know, you could do a survey of a bunch of people and you could do a qualitative, assessment. But measuring aside, I've experienced empathy and I've found it to be very taxing emotionally.
Most people do.
And I think over the course of my life, as I've gotten older and hopefully more mature, although that's questionable. I find myself more comfortable and gravitating towards being sympathetic and having an objective, more clinical connection to somebody else's experience as opposed to an empathetic experience. And I think that's just self-preservation. Especially,
I was just going to say that, Paula.
Yeah.
I truly believe that all of us, are we not all empathetic are we not empaths?
Yeah. I was thinking actually, especially in the kind of spiritual world, when you are dealing with clients and people that are coming for readings and things, if you are somebody who's sensitive, like a clairsentient person, you have to watch that you're not getting sucked into the emotions. It's very draining. It can be, like you said, sympathy, like standing into their, feeling how they're feeling exactly. I think that can hold you back and give them a message sometimes as well. Because you're sucked into it's not actually your feelings, it's the other person's feelings.
And
you have
also
to step back slightly from that.
Yeah, and making the mistake of taking on their problems for them. Like you see this all the time, right? Where somebody's having some kind of problem in their life and they might have a friend or a group of friends that suddenly become very immersed in that other person's problems as if those problems were your own.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, that I think complicates the situation for the person experiencing a problem.
I
Because suddenly
agree.
you're not able to process your own life experience, your own situation. You've got other people trying to have these surrogate experiences. And you know, as a psychic, yeah, absolutely. When you're reading for somebody, if you get immersed in the problems that they're bringing to you, you're going to lose perspective. You're going to lose that judgment, that objectivity with spirit.
Absolutely. And let me say this, as a mentor for people that do work with the spiritual metaphysical realm, the number one thing I'll teach you is your boundaries, because we are empaths. And those of us that do this work, that are high level vibrational beings, being able to connect easily and effortlessly with spirit, whether that's loved ones, whether that's the person in front of you, whatever that looks like, if we are taking on the spirit or the individual's energy, we're not doing the work. We're not being of service, because now we've embedded ourselves and become part of the, let's call it the issue or the situation. And now we're not as open to seeing it from a non-judgmental place, because now we're living it. We're in that space. So would you say, Christine, would you say that you are an empathic?
I feel like it's almost, you taught me about like how to switch from your logical side to your spiritual side. So how you are able to have your empathic, because you need to feel how they feel, and then shift your mind into your energy into sympathetic, to give them the message.
And the understanding. I understand your situation. You know, there's Lynn Marie, talk to me a little bit about what you think about the idea of sympathy over being empathic. So what I mean by that is, if an empath, I'm feeling like I'm in there like a dirty shirt, and you don't want to be because you're not being of service. But sympathetic, I mean, do you believe those are two completely different things?
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, for me as a young child and a teenager, I had extreme empathetic. And that's why we're good at what we do, is having that empath gives us that gift to help others. But it is taxing, it can be. But for me, is when I started taking psychic development classes and going, oh, I've been an empath my entire life. So I was absorbing everybody else, but there was nobody to say to me, oh, Lynn, you're taking on people's stuff.
Yeah.
Thinking it was my own at that time. So I was a great teenager. Mood swings, walking around, happy 1 minute, angry the next minute, crying the next minute, and back to me again.
And everyone chalked it up to you just being 16.
Exactly. Yeah, they used to scatter, but it's because I'm open as an empath to everybody in the room. And then I got to that point through age, experience, over time, where I could learn to separate the two, of having that empathy for that person, but also being neutral in that. So you're not caught up in, not to be rude, their drama or getting sucked into it to where you're getting drained in the process. And you're also wanting to give them self-empowerment. That's what I'm about. It's going neutral.
Yes.
I understand what you're going through.
Absolutely.
But also giving them that sense of empowerment in that process. But everybody's different, right? It's an individual thing. You'll have empathy for one person, another person you'll kind of go neutral. So it's kind of, it's not black and white. You're in a gray of, you go with the person. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, it makes sense. Val, I want to ask you something though. When we talk about spiritual individuals, readers, intuitives, energy practitioners, mediums, all those things, I find that a lot of the jargon or this information that's coming out, it suddenly becomes about being an empath becomes a flex. Oh, I'm so empathic. Oh my God, I feel everything. Yeah. And I'm of the mindset that's not a flex. I'm of the mindset that if you are an empath, you need to be, and you are being of service to other people, if you are able to come in and read for someone and help someone, do energy work with someone, you have to be able to control that empath energy, because if you don't, you're not doing the work. What are your thoughts?
From a logical point of view, in the Muggle world, you know, when you're in the corporate world and you're dealing with people, I've actually come across a lot of people who call themselves empaths, and they take on the woes and the feelings and whatnot of other people around about them, but perhaps they're not really understanding how to deal with that, and it affects them to such an extent that they can't even function themselves, like in work. And I've had to, guide a few people and say to them, but that's somebody else's problem. If they've heard some bad news, for instance, in the workplace, somebody's maybe passed away or something's upsetting them, they step into that person's shoes and they feel, and it's quite interesting because they then react like it's happened to them and it hasn't. And it's actually debilitating them because they're oh, I'm so worried for that person, how must they be feeling? And and I've had to sort of say, well, you have to step back and accept that it's awful, you can support the person, but you're not going through that, it's not your experience that you're going through, and you have to kind of pull it back a little bit. On the flip side of that as well, I used to be in a position where I wasn't a counsellor per se, but I did deal with a lot of people who had problems, and I was trying to get them into the community for volunteering. And they would come with, and I'm saying this kindly, but they'd have different types of baggage depending on their life path and what's happened to them. And what I discovered really quickly was you can be sympathetic and empathetic, that's the right word.
That is a word.
That's the word. But I did realise, and this was just as over 20 years ago, when I was probably using psychic ability but didn't actually realise that that's what I was doing to help these people. I hadn't had training at that point. And so when I was talking to them, I realised that in dealing with them to help them the best, I couldn't get sucked into it. I couldn't be empathetic to that point and step into their shoes and feel their emotions, because it didn't actually help them. It actually, in some respects, made them worse. That they couldn't, they couldn't move on, and they couldn't deal with it because
it was
then
agency.
and I kind of contributed to that by accident, trying to help them not understand. And so at that point, identified and went on a low-level counselling course so that I could empathise and sympathise, but maintain a distance so that I could still help them and guide them and help them to kind of move on a bit. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
It's a bit longer, sorry.
And again, just to kind of reiterate, the idea of being an empath seems to be something that people really, really like the idea of. Do you remember a little while ago, ladies, we were talking about everyone wants to be a medium in the metaphysical world. Everyone wants to be a medium, but they don't fully understand what mediumship is. And everyone is a medium already, but it's what you do with that work that's interesting. With the empath, because it is a word that is used so easily now, just like the word medium, but it's used so easily now, I feel like people use it as an excuse in some ways as well. I'm just feeling so much pressure, I'm feeling everyone's stuff, I'm just taking on everyone's thing. And again, it comes down to, like Val said, she talked about, I hadn't done some work yet with people. It is important to find the tools to be able to do this kind of work, but how about we go beyond that? You talked about muggle jobs. Paula, you have a muggle job. How about...
I love my muggle job.
Well, yay! That's what we want. We want you to love the muggle job. But, and muggle for everyone is our Harry Potter term for normal jobs, so to speak. But Paula, I don't know, what are your thoughts about this whole, people just using it as an excuse to
I think people, when they don't feel special, will gravitate to something or someone or
I love this already.
that will help them feel unique or special in some way. And I think that some people will gravitate towards this idea of being an empath because that feels special.
Yeah.
Being a psychic or a medium or a healer is no more special than being a mechanic or an electrician or bagging groceries or being a landscaper, right? It's just a thing that we do, right? And we do it either in service, or we do it as business, or whatever it may be. It doesn't matter ultimately how we approach that, but the real flex in life, independent of your job or role or description that you play in the world, the real flex in life, I think, is being able to grow beyond the types of things that hold you back. And sometimes being empathetic can be it can be kryptonite for some people. It can make you stagnant in your life. It can make you stagnant in your relationships. And the real flex is growing out of that and being able to let other people have their own experiences in life you own your own experiences in life, and you can be there to support each other through sympathetic engagement, whether it's a kind word or a kind act, but you don't need to be there a martyr for everybody's cause. And I think that comes back to that place of, well, I want to feel special, I want to feel unique, I want to be, somebody that people look at and hold up in some way. And there's lots of, that's super armchair psychology now, like why people do that. But at the end of the day, I think we all need to reflect back and really think about, am I actually helping or am I hindering? And I think as metaphysical practitioners, our emphasis needs to be, what can I be doing that is helping? How am I helping society? How am I helping a group? How am I helping an individual? And enabling their ability to express their free will, enabling their ability to grow through their spiritual path, their life path, without trying to do that for them and having them become a cause du jour.
Absolutely. And I truly believe that you can be empathetic and sympathetic, those words, at the same time for any situation. I don't think there is one that has to outplay the other. I don't know if there is any time where empathy is the better choice, to be honest with you, because describing what empathy is, the way we've described it, I don't know if jumping into anyone's shoes that's having, a really hard time. Yes, it can certainly give a perspective if you are looking for that, oh my goodness. But most of the time when you're doing empathic work, you are already there, you're already in there. It's not a thought process. You're not going, I need to jump into their shoes and become this energy. You're already feeling it, and then you have to take yourself out of it.
And there's a time and place for it, right? There's a time and place where people will be empathetic, I think, when you need to be. If you see somebody struggling and you're not really understanding why, and you're having trouble connecting to them, and they're wanting to connect with you, independent of what we're doing, but just as people, sometimes it can be helpful to project yourself into their shoes to try to understand and be able to relate to them on a human level. So there's a time and place for it, but when it becomes habitual or unconscious, and you're not thinking about the impact on the other person and the value that that's bringing to them, that's when I think it can become destructive for both parties.
Agreed.
Yeah. As a devil's advocate, maybe there are some people like what you're saying there that use this empathy like a banner because they're looking for the drama. So I'm just saying that this is another way to look at it as well. So some people that naturally want to create the drama, so by adding fuel to the fire, and it flares everything up and it keeps things going. But for me, I don't like to see that, because I think the person that's receiving it is ultimately, they're not able to move on, they're not able to deal with what the issue is, So there's a line.
Absolutely, yeah.
I think most people would say they have empathy.
Yep.
I do. I truly believe that most people would say they have empathy. And if you didn't, that for me personally, being the person I am, would be a little concerning. You have to be able to relate. And I think empathy is more about relating than sympathy is, in terms of sympathy being like, oh, Christine, you had a bicycle accident. I want to make this as weak as possible. But you had a bicycle accident, and you hurt your foot. And that sucks. I'm so sorry that happened to you. I don't think I need to go in there and feel the foot. I don't think I need to do that portion of it. But having said that, that sympathy, I think, is something that we have. We can have that for every situation, but the empathy, I think, is something that we all have that we just don't always utilize appropriately.
It's
not everyone.
I think sympathy can be as simple as an expression of kindness and acknowledging somebody's life experience or their particular event experience. And I think human beings, we want to relate, right? We are social creatures, and we survive in community settings. No person is an island, right? So I think, and part of that relating comes from us being able to acknowledge and relate to each other. By saying, oh, Christine, I'm sorry that you hurt your foot. That's terrible. Can I help you? Can I carry your groceries for you?
Oh, I thought you were going to have to carry her.
Sure,
I carry you, Christine.
I got the bad back thing going on. So but but Christine's gonna go, oh, I feel like somebody cares.
Yes.
Right? And I'm
Mhm.
gonna be like, oh yeah, I and then you can have that moment of empathy by saying, geez, if that were me, I would appreciate if somebody could put themselves in my shoes. So you can actually have both experiences at the same time.
Yeah, I agree with
It's
that.
knowing when to draw the boundary to go, oh, Christine, your butt, it must be so terrible. Now you can't
Yeah,
walk.
it's
Oh
so
my
different.
God, maybe
Yeah.
your bones are broken and there was
Yeah.
oh, 7 years ago I fell off my scooter and this big toe still hurts and I can't move it. It almost becomes empathy can actually become this
About you.
self-absorption. right?
Exactly.
So there is that can be sort of a negative expression of empathy as well.
So I want to bring the key differences a little bit late to the game here, but I just want to put this out here. So empathy is immersive. Agreed? It is you connect to what another is feeling, whereas sympathy is observational. And I'm going to say this a little bit safer, obviously, like we've all talked about here. You acknowledge their feelings and may offer comfort, but you don't necessarily experience the emotion yourself. Think empathy as I feel this with you. Think sympathy as I see what you're going through and I care. Any final thoughts on this, Lynn Marie?
On the spot there, I was so immersed in your
What?
conversation.
Why, thank you!
I feel for you.
You've been empathetic to her.
I mean, I think the panel is brilliant and everything everybody has said, I think is brilliantly said. And I agree pretty much on that. But I think I'm more of an example kind of person than to actually give you a full answer. So I think for my personal experience and been blessed and humbled and gratitude to the people that I've been able to work with is common sense. We have common sense in what we do as a living. And I think bringing that common bedside manners, it's like you're saying, oh my God, I can feel your pain. Well, it's going to freak out the poor person of going, oh my God, you're taking on my stuff, and that's going to make them feel bad.
Yeah.
I think if we could approach it in a loving, calm, normalized, common sense way, even though with our spirituality, and I think sometimes and not trying to slide people down in their practices and stuff like that, is to check and balance the ego.
Oh,
You know?
amen.
Yeah, because sometimes people like to put us in the God complex.
Yes.
And we're not in a God complex here.
No.
It is our gift. I personally think it's one of our superpowers to have the empathy and the same time of compassion for somebody going through. But we also have to bring that common sense and responsibility for ourselves and for the person we're dealing with, because then it becomes a codependency. We want that. We're just here. What I say is we're just guiding people. It's a guidance that we're doing. We're not the Bible. We give you the free will of the spirituality that's coming through.
We are just the conduit,
We're just that conduit.
right?
But we're in the last few years, we're now in a place that people are comfortable in what we do. We're 20 years ago,
Absolutely.
now they're quiet, underattainable. People are open and searching for it and wanting it, but then it's almost a little bit of that commercializing that too, I'm not into that. I'm here to meet beautiful people and one-on-one. Yes, we all have to make a living. We have to turn on the light bulbs. But there's that, I deal well with people that have compassion, they want to help people. Yes, we still have to put the food on our table.
Exchange is real. That's
And
how
we will. So it's harder for us in our field, I think, because there are people that take advantage of that.
Yeah, absolutely. They
And then there's beautiful people that are doing the work, coming from the heart.
Yeah.
So we're always battling that ego
Mhm.
of people, and then truly what we're doing. Like I've seen, it's like, oh really? Oh, here we go. They're gonna spin around and do a lot of these bells and whistles, and I was like, oh man.
That's me on TikTok. If you guys follow me, you know me about the TikTok spiritual group people with the big mood setting stuff and all that stuff. And I'm just like on there like, hey,
Exactly.
I have a message for someone. Is anyone here to take it? You know what I mean?
To take
Like
off
not
your jewelry
into
and go
that,
across your legs.
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So I appreciate that.
Yeah,
Thank you.
and I think coming from that place that we do have both worlds of empathy and I never can say the other word.
Sympathy.
Sympathy.
Thank you. And
We're all feeling you right now.
so, because I'm getting out there and I'm grounding very quickly. And is, like I say to people, it's just common sense. Take what you want from us and what you don't. Just
What resonates stays, what doesn't, let it go.
Right.
But I will not
Thank you.
remember what you tell me because
Yeah,
I don't want
I'm
to.
the same.
Well, that's the thing. I
I'm
don't
not
carry it.
interested-
So don't
I'm
call
not
me
interested.
tomorrow and be like, do you
Yeah.
remember when you
Yeah.
said this? And I'll be like, oh, I
I am
no,
not
no.
interested in remembering a reading for anybody.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it's not mine.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, it's
I
not
got enough
mine.
stuff going on,
Yeah.
ladies, that I
Tell
don't
me
need
about
that.
Just remember.
Thank
the
you,
grocery
Lynn Marie.
list is
Christine, final words on this?
I feel like when you are so empathic, you're drowning the person. You are drowning yourself. You both go down.
You both. I'm not gonna say I love that, but I love that. That makes sense, right?
Because it's like when you want to save that person, it's like your lifeguard. You throw out the
The lifesaver.
yeah
The
the
ring.
What do they call it?
I was like something. You throw the ring
Welcome to
first,
my-
yes.
Oh, the ring.
And then the action, but actually, you are not telling the person to use the ring.
Oh, that's right.
You're going
guiding
down.
them.
Yeah, you're just going down with them. Instead of pulling them back up, you're saving both of you.
Or just making
Right.
sure that there's a life vest out there.
Yeah,
rather
just
than
yeah.
throwing
And
something
it's their
out there,
choice.
you're
And
holding
it's their
it.
choice.
It's their choice.
But you
You
gotta
right?
watch, you
Their
gotta
choice,
hold on and you gotta help.
It's their choice.
Especially
They
practitioners
gotta swim.
have to be make sure you're not drowning yourself. Going
Such a big thing. Val, any last words, baby?
No, I think I'm pretty good just now. You caught me off guard.
We
there.
feel you. I feel like we're gonna be saying that now. We're gonna walk around and be like, "We feel you. We feel you." We're not in it with you, but we feel you.
But it's
I
true,
think
I think boundaries is definitely a thing. And I know
Thank you.
when I'm reading for people, I always, sometimes you can get excited with the reading, especially if it's a good one and you're giving good news and you're seeing things and you're also landing with that person, it's making sense to them. But I always say to them, this is energy for you, it's open to you. I'm not telling you what to do, you have to decide.
Yeah, what you
I
do
can
with it is
I can-
yours.
Yeah, exactly. And then sometimes obviously things come up where you give the sympathy, a little bit of empathy as well, depending, what they've come to see you. But yeah, just like you say, we throw them. I think it's a light at the end of the tunnel sometimes as well, a perspective that you're sort of giving them something that they can grab onto if they want to.
Yes.
But there's boundaries, for ourselves.
Before I bring this to a close, I want to give an example of something. So, you all know that Ryan passed away 2 years ago, just over. And here's the thing, is that I'm still able, because I've set up my boundaries. As an empath, if someone comes to me and says, my son passed away, and this immediately happened. It was like I had like 30 people out of nowhere within like 2 weeks of this happening to me that were like, I can feel you, I know what you're going through, etc., but also, can you read for me? People that didn't know what I was going through. Can you read for me? Can you read for me? And I don't turn down readings. So I was like, okay, so how do I do this? How do I not be so empathetic? Because I've lived it. How do I not do this? And literally, it was, I just had to set my boundaries, and I was A-okay. Spirit had me, I was good, I gave the messages. And I came from a place of sympathy, but I had to put up my boundaries. So when you brought up Val, boundaries, big deal, big deal. Paula, final words?
I'm on a Dr. Pepper.
So we're done.
I would love some empathy.
We sympathise. I sympathise. That was the dreadful.
I can't be there with you in the Dr. Pepper.
Final words are just like, when you're engaging with somebody, whether you're a metaphysical worker or just in life, think about whether you're helping or hindering. Like really think about, are you helping or hindering that other person? And what your real motivation is behind what's driving your emotion to connect.
Right.
Excellent. Ladies, I'm going to bring this to a close. And here's my final words on this. I believe that being an empath is valid. I believe that right now there is a lot of chitter chatter going on about empath is maybe not a real thing. I'm going to say bullcrap. I looked at Val because I'm like, well, what am I going to say, Val? She's like, I'm going to say this to you. Being an empath is exactly what we are all supposed to be at some level. What you do with it is what matters.
Mhm.
And if you can be both, that's a beautiful thing. And if you can toggle both of them, if you are able to move from empathy to sympathy and or connect both of them together in the right moments, you are winning the game.
Mhm.
And that is my personal belief. So ladies, Christine, Val, Lynn Marie, Paula, I want to say thank you so much for this time. And I hope that we can do this again at some point and have another conversation in a group setting like this. Maybe when you come back.
I will. I'll definitely.
We'll set it up. We'll set
We're
it up.
gonna keep
Thank you.
Thanks.
We're going to keep her. And to everyone that is watching, make sure you follow us on the Spirit Essence Collective on the website, and we will have Lynn Marie's contact information in the notes below. Thank you, everyone. Stay divine.
Bye.